Welcome to the Failure Diaries, my fellow fuck-ups. And yes, that is what I'm calling you, because we are taking the stigma away from failure and fucking up and realizing it's really not that big of a deal. This first video of this channel, I'm going to be embarrassing myself, sharing some deep dark secrets, but I already share a lot of them on social media, so you might already know them. By the end of the video, you're gonna know a lot about my failures. And this is just cracking open the door, so stay tuned. But I promise you, even after a few weeks or even months of watching the Failure Diaries, whether it's my TikTok or this YouTube channel, you're gonna be unfazed by failure. You might even get off, and yes, I said get off, on failure. Existential Kink, read the book. Because failure gets to be fun, it gets to be data. So let's get into it.
All I got are failures. All I got.
I'm back! Well, technically this is a brand new channel, but I'm back on YouTube. I had a channel where I vlogged and I did like lifestyle type of shit. I really had no idea what I was doing. I just wanted to try out having a YouTube channel. While this channel is definitely going to have vlogs, this is a little bit more of a welcome trailer story time. It's gonna have some vlogs of my fuck ups in real time when I can. And what I mean by that is I might be going out and doing something and just filming my life, and I fail so often, whether it's big or small, I'm bound to catch some shit. And yes, I'm gonna curse on this channel, it's just who I am. I get my mouth from my mother. She has a sailor's mouth. Sorry, Mom, I know you're watching this, I love you. I'll also be doing a lot of story times, past, present. And then what I also am really excited to do is I'm going to go out into the ethos and try things for the first time and do things on purpose to fuck up. So that might look like going to a pottery class and knowing I'm gonna be absolutely terrible at it and showing you that, just so you can see, because you know, even me saying that, you know that failing at going to a pottery class for the first time, I'm probably not gonna be good at it, right? Yet you are watching this video, not doing something because you're not an expert at it right away. My ADHD people, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm at the Tough Love Coach. I work with a lot of people with ADHD, and we love to not start something unless we're gonna be an expert at it. We'll start 1,000,010 things, but we wanna feel like we're good at it right away. And so these vlogs that I'll be doing when I'm trying something on purpose and failing at it and showing you is to wipe that idea out of your brain. I might even go and force myself into rejection for the sake of the channel. But we'll see what that looks like. And I'm filming this on my iPhone because I did not get a camera in time. So there's a first failure for you. So I have to keep getting up and checking to make sure that the camera is filming. And the sun's almost down because I waited until 4 o'clock to film this video. So we're gonna try to bang this out, but I can't stop talking. So we're gonna see how that fucking goes. So for this first video, I kind of wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive of what to expect from this channel, what to expect from what's gonna be going down. And then I wanna dive into a little bit more about my 2023 and all the ways that I failed. So first, let's define what failure means, because I'm gonna be using that word a lot. It is the Failure Diaries. What do you expect? So Google defines the word failure as a lack of success or the omission of expected or required action. I define failure as just data. It took me a while to get here. I'm not just out here waking up and being like, oh my God, failure is like super rad. But I'll talk about that in another video. My goal with this channel, I've said it a bunch on my Instagram and my TikTok already, but my goal with this channel is to take the stigma away from failure. We live in a world where we are pressured to be productive all the time and to be successful. And you see things on social media where you see 1% of someone's life and you're like, oh, I should be able to do that in like 3 days, when it really took them months or years to get there. All of this that we're pushing for is because we are, one, perfectionism is a big one, but we are so afraid to fail because we are afraid that people are gonna see us fail. We are afraid that people are going to judge us if they see us fail, which first of all, that's the spotlight effect, and we think everybody's paying attention to us, but nobody is paying attention to us. Everybody is so, think about how much you think about yourself, how many thoughts you have and decisions you make in a day. We are so concerned about our own lives. There's no way anybody else is that worried about us. And if they are, they're a fan. How you doing? The whole concept of this YouTube channel and my TikTok is that there was a few things. I wanted to start a YouTube channel again. I wanted to create a new TikTok. I did a poll on my Instagram story a few weeks ago, and I asked people what was the main reason that they followed me. And they said it was because of my vulnerability, my authenticity, and my willingness to show my failures. A lot of people talked about how they make I make them feel like they don't need to give up if like everything falls apart. 90% of my one-on-one clients, group coaching, mastermind clients, and my Tough Love Collective, which is like my ongoing group coaching mentorship, are perfectionists. I also work with a lot of procrastinators, and one of the number one reasons I have found, I've been coaching for almost 11 years, is that people have a huge fear of failure. So many of you are sitting on huge dreams and not starting simply because you are afraid it's not going to work out. But what if I could just go into your brain and pluck out the idea of like failure being scary? You would just go after everything, right? Like imagine I just pulled, I'm gonna be one of those things on TikTok where they like pull the energy out. I like pull out the idea that you have to be afraid of failure, that failure is this like big scary thing. What would you go do right now? Like if failure was literally impossible, not even that you didn't worry about it, that it was impossible, that you couldn't fail, what would you do? You don't have to live in a world where failure isn't an option. You can choose to look at failure as just data, so it's not something that holds you back. And the fear of failure, don't get me wrong, it's totally valid. That's why I made this channel. I'm not bashing you if you're afraid of failure. Even though I'm making this channel and I talk about this a lot, there's definitely times where like I prefer not to fail, you know what I mean? But it doesn't scare me. It doesn't stop me. I will go after things knowing I'm going to fail because I know it is only going to teach me something. It's going to give me data, give me information, and then I'm going to be able to go do that thing or be that person in a much better way. I've shared a lot about my failures, and on this channel, I'm going to be sharing a lot about those in a deeper dive, whether they're, again, past stories or present. But some of my failures, just to touch on some topics, my struggles, I have ADHD, OCD, and anxiety. It's a lot. Diagnosed OCD, not just like, oh, I have OCD. I have been homeless. I have been in an abusive relationship. I struggle with eating disorders. When it comes to relationship stuff, this is probably the number one thing I've been working on recently and in the past year, going through a divorce, is my anxious attachment, rejection wound, abandonment wound, daddy issues. It's funny because those things I don't struggle with in any other area of my life, but when it comes to like relationships, platonic or romantic, that's where my anxious attachment and my like abandonment wounds can pop up. I've made a ton of growth, but I still want to continue to grow in that area. And that's probably something I'll be talking about a lot on this channel, so stay tuned. I have changed my business a bunch of times and I've made a bunch of posts on that. And I think a lot of people resonate with that. So I'll be sharing a lot about that. I got a divorce, and me and my ex, we're still friends. Like, we're not, or like buddy and hang out. We don't hate each other. I think it says a lot when you can have an ex, whether it's an ex-husband or an ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, they, them, whatever, and you don't hate the other person, you don't bash them. Like, my ex is a really great person. It just didn't work out. We have no hard feelings towards each other. We're not gonna like, you know, be best friends, but still have a lot of love for him, and I imagine that he does for me. Maybe he's watching this and he's like, fuck you, Alexis. I'm gonna talk about that as well, because there's also a stigma around like divorce, and it has to be this awful, scary thing, and it doesn't have to be. So I already shared that I have a TikTok, and it's just at the Failure Diaries. And on that channel, I am going to be sharing a failure every day for 365 days. And we're actually on day 12 was yesterday, and I didn't post because I didn't get the chance, which is the second time that happened already in 2 weeks. So I'm really like living up to the Failure Diaries, but it's no big deal because I'm gonna post a video today and then I'm gonna post another one tonight, and we're gonna get caught up and nobody's gonna give a shit. I have like 50 people viewing my TikToks right now, so it really doesn't matter. And it wouldn't matter if there's a million people viewing it. But do you see my energy around failure? How it's just like, oh, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to. And that's like the whole thing. But the difference between like the TikTok and the YouTube, obviously this is gonna be a little bit more long form, a little bit deeper dive. The TikTok is gonna be like every day, a little bit more short and sweet, a little bit more consistent. Other thing that I'm really excited about is that on my podcast, because I have a podcast, which is insane. I have 2 Instagrams, personal and business, 2 TikToks, personal and business, the Failure Diaries now. And then I have a YouTube channel and a podcast. Like, that's a lot. My podcast, I've had it for a little over a year. I haven't really had many guests on it. All my guests were just like invited people, like clients that I've talked to. But this year, what I'm doing is I'm gonna start having guests. I've already had 2 people, one already aired and another one's coming soon. But instead of doing just normal interviews and like talk to us about like what you do, like we'll chat about that. The questions are gonna be all geared around failure, what they're currently failing at. One thing I say a lot on my page is successful people have honest conversations with themselves. So we're gonna be asking like, what honest conversations have you needed to or currently need to have with yourself? And so I'm gonna, be getting random people on there, but I'm gonna be trying to get, I'm not saying I'm gonna get Tony Robbins on my podcast, but that'd be cool. I could ask and get rejected and not die. But I'm gonna be trying to get people on there that you really wanna hear from, that are successful, and whether they're entrepreneurs or just a regular Joe Schmo, and talk, instead of just talking about all the things that they're crushing at, We're gonna talk about the things that they're failing at, things that aren't going well, so you can realize that other people are sucking at life too. And I know that you know that, but hearing it from the mouth of babes from these people that are going to be on my podcast is going to be super rad. But this isn't about my podcast or my TikTok. This is about the YouTube channel. So let's get into it. Last thing, I'm going to aim to post about 2 videos a month on this channel. We'll see how that goes. If you like this kind of content, I really recommend letting me know that. Subscribe, hit the follow button, smash the like, you know, all those fun things that people say on YouTube. But let's get into my 2023. What a year 2023 was. We're gonna go month to month and just let's navigate Alexis's 2023. And I just want to like set the precedent that all of the things I'm going to share are very much first world problems. I know that like a lot of the failures I'm going to share, people are like, they're bigger fish to fry. Your life's not that bad. No, my life is actually really amazing and I'm very grateful for it. I've worked hard to get to where I am, and I just want to share these failures to help, again, remove the stigma from failure. But I don't want this to seem like pity party channel. And if you know me and you follow my page, you know that pity party is not my thing. When I write a book, because I will write a book, it's going to be all about pity party, because I was in a pity party and that's what got me out of where I was, started a business, and almost 11 years later, here I am. January, we kicked off 2023 with a motherfucking bang. I cried on New Year's. It was not fun. Big fight with my ex. Started off real shitty. But January was when I asked for a divorce. And this wasn't like I was the only one. And you know, me and my ex had been trying to figure things out for quite a while. He was actually on a trip with his, I felt bad, but it's kind of one of those things where he just had to rip the Band-Aid off. And he went to, I think, like a bachelor party with his friends in like Tulum. And when I picked him up from the airport, brought him home, he like knew something was up. And when we got home, I was like, we should get a divorce. I'd already been kind of like talking about it, so it wasn't brand new information, but that's how my January started. So February, we decided, even though we like said, hey, let's get a divorce, let's try one more time. And the one more time is always like the one more time and the one more time, the one more time, but we really wanted to try. And that's the thing that like makes me feel very happy and comfortable about the divorce and about our relationship, is that we were willing to try everything that we could. The great thing about myself and my ex is that we were best friends. Like that was the one thing that, not one thing, but one of the best things about our relationship is we were friends before we even dated. That was the hard part, leaving a relationship where you got along in every other area, but like the romantic side of it just like wasn't what we both wanted it to be. The communication wasn't there. There was a lot of like resentments that we kind of couldn't get past, and we had a lot of love for each other, but it really wasn't working. So this last time I was like, okay, I'm gonna go home. The Eagles were playing in the Super Bowl, so I was like, I'm just gonna go home for a month. I'm gonna go home beginning of, you know, go through the Super Bowl, and they fucking lost, so add that to failures. But go home, stay by myself, get some space from each other, do some inner workings, and then let's come back and have a conversation. I went home and no one knew. I think maybe some people did, like when you see somebody like go away home for a long period of time and their partner doesn't come with them, it's kind of like, I went home, and the funniest part is that I knew I wanted to go home, and like, we love our home, right? Love my family, but staying for an extended period of time at your childhood home doesn't always have the best outcomes, right? Like there can be fights and things like that. And so I was just like, I want to rent an Airbnb and I'm going to be by myself, and I'll go in the city because my family like lives in Delaware and Philly. My sister lives in Philly. Her apartment was too small to stay. So I was like, I'm just going to rent an Airbnb. So I got on, I'm like, you know, getting the Airbnb, and I had 2 windows up, and there were 2 ones I wanted to get. One was like, okay. And the other one was a little bit more expensive, but it had a huge window overlooking the city. It was like in a high rise. And I was like, this is great. Like I'm going to wake up in the morning and like look out into the city. And so I booked the Airbnb. And once I looked, I realized I booked the wrong one. Like I had 2 windows open. I booked the wrong one. And let me tell you, again, grateful, but I couldn't get a refund. They refused to allow me. And as soon as I booked it, I realized it. With 30 seconds later, I was like, hey, I didn't mean to book this. Can I get a refund? They were like, no. Anyway, so I booked not the one with the nice big window. I booked one that was in the basement of a building, like a high-rise building, but I was in the bottom floor. So there were no windows in this Airbnb. It had no kitchen. The bathroom was quite nice, but no kitchen. They had like a underneath the counter, or underneath in the cabinets, I like pulled out like a hot pot type of thing that you plugged in. Oh my gosh, and I went grocery shopping, didn't realize it. It was a mess. And so every day I would wake up and I had no idea what time it was, no idea what the weather was like. I'd have to go outside just to like see and check. And it was just like, again, first world problems, but this was supposed to be my like time by myself to just discover me and figure out what I wanted to do. And I'm like miserable in the bottom of a basement Airbnb. That was fun. So again, Eagles lost the Super Bowl, which was very upsetting, but it is what it is. March rolls around. My dog tears his ACL. $6,000 surgery before we had pet insurance. Get pet insurance. If you're watching this and you're thinking about getting pet insurance, just do it. I promise you. You don't want to wait and then regret it. Because that was me. I was like, oh, everybody's saying I should get it. I'll just wait. Dog tears his ACL. What are you gonna do? And he's a very energetic dog. So I have Ned back here, which I think you can see in frame. But I have my other dog that my ex took in the divorce. But we don't share them, but like if he goes on vacation, like I'll watch both of them. And if I go on vacation, he'll watch them. So it's nice. We have like a built-in dog sitter. So this dog is a half Australian Shepherd and half Pit Bull, and he has a ton of energy. And so during that time, while I'm trying to work my business, live my life, do all the things, like he had surgery and has to rest and can't walk, can't do anything for an extended period of time. And so we're having to keep him busy, make sure he's okay, clean his like, you know, his like the make sure his wound he's not touching his wound. I was doing a lot of like brain games with him so he could like get stimulated somehow. And so that was just like a mess of a thing. All while knowing that like I was probably going to get a divorce. It hadn't been like, we hadn't had the final conversation yet. So April comes and I start breaking out, like cystic acne all over my face. I had a rash on my neck, wasn't eating right. I was so stressed out because the dog, possible divorce, what am I going to do? Like the divorce isn't just like the ending of the relationship. There's so much that obviously, but there's so much that goes into it, like your friend groups and who's going to stay, who's going to, you know, leave. You have to pay for bills by yourself. Where am I going to live? I don't have a car. We were sharing a car for 5 years. I had not had my own car in 5 years. And so all of these things were just like consuming my brain. Then May is when we finally decided to get a divorce. And this was so funny because we did it in the Costco parking lot. We were like going shopping for groceries for the week and we like were arguing all morning. We go park in the Costco parking lot and I'm just like, we're done. Let's stop it. No more second chances, or not second chances, but no more trying again. We're just done. I'm over it. And he was like, yes, he agreed. And so we were like, okay, we're getting a divorce. And so it was kind of final. And so we look over, and if anybody listens to like electronic music, there's a DJ named Dr. Fresh. And he happened to be there because he was in town for a show. And he was with his friends in his car, getting out, going shopping at Costco. And like, because me and my ex, like, we just make a mockery of, when we were together, we'll just make a mockery of everything. We like got out of the car and we're like, yo. Then we like said hi. And it was just so funny because he was like, hey, how you guys doing? Like, how's your day going? And we're like, oh, we're getting a divorce. We didn't say that, but like that was what was going on. Like, insane. June was when I started to do some major healing. I spent every day crying, of course, because the divorce was finally real. My shadow work girl, a lot of you may follow her on Instagram. She's Screamwork, Candace, and she is who I do my breath work with. And she had me do an inventory where I had to write 30 different people, places, and things that I felt have wronged me or I've had resentments towards, and then I had to write all the things that I felt about them. So it was like 30 people, and then all the things about those 30 people, places, and things. And then I had to write like my part, and it was like a very rough, deep exercise, but it was very healing. So July was when the realization of everything that was going to happen was starting to hit me. I was losing my friend group. I was losing my best friend, you know, at the time, because my ex and I had been together for 9 years. Person who I would do everything with, go to shows with, travel, plus ones at weddings, like all of those things are replaceable, but like it's still a process to realize that these things are happening, right? My health insurance. I have my own business, but because we were together, I had health insurance through him. So now I had to figure that out. I didn't have a car. I had to figure out a car. For dogs. That was one of the hardest things and one thing that I cried about a lot. Not only like separating those two because they're best friends, but like I felt bad because my ex wasn't going to have Ned because I was obviously going to have Ned because Ned's obsessed with me and I would never, ever not have him. Even though, of course, I love my other dog, Gerald. And like, so I was sad that my ex wouldn't have Ned, sad that I wasn't going to have Gerald. And so that was a whole process in itself to like deal with. And then family, and also feeling bad because my partner had become obviously very close with my family. Hey, I'd known him for 20 years. We went to high school together. So he wasn't just like a guy I'd been in a relationship with, they had known him since I was like 14. And so been quite a while. I felt sad for him losing that. So a lot of the grieving was like grieving myself, but also grieving for him because I felt bad for everything that was happening with that. And let me also add that I realized I had to change all of this, and I still decided to go through with it in terms of the divorce. If you are thinking of leaving a relationship that isn't serving you, isn't serving the both of you, just do it. I know that it's so fucking hard, and I'll have more videos talking about divorce later on, but like, I know it's so hard, but I promise you it'll be the best thing that you do for yourself and that your partner does for them as well. So August, I met a situationship guy. I've never been in a situationship. I've always been in like long-term relationships, so this was interesting. Definitely jumped into it too fast, but that's what happens when you just get out of a divorce. And I was like, oh, this is happening too fast, so I'm just gonna take it slow. But of course did not do that. And I've learned my lesson. I've learned so much from this situationship. It started off great and then just ended terribly. During that time, I was partying a lot. I was drinking. I was staying out late, like not getting a lot of sleep. I was avoiding my friends, and I was all consumed by this like new person and this new friend group. And I just was like a shell of a person. Like I was waking up with crippling anxiety, going to bed with crippling anxiety. It wasn't good. In September, my birthday month, I moved out of my house that I was living because I was still living with my partner, and we could have stayed in the same house together. Like we avoided each other. We didn't hate each other, but like I kind of just wanted to like get out of that house, and I needed my space. So I moved into a friend's house. I got to live for free in exchange for working with her, like helping her run her business, which was great. And I'm really appreciative of that. But I felt so alone because I was in this house, and her house is beautiful, huge property, like $1 million property. It was amazing. But I just had just my room, and it wasn't my house. It wasn't my space. The kitchen, the living area, like it wasn't my space. So it just felt like off for me. Nothing to do with her, just my own experience. And I also spent a shit ton of money on gas, tolls, everything to continue to see this situationship that I was going to see because he lived in Denver. I was lost, and I really did lose myself. Like the quote or TikTok sound or something about like forgetting who the fuck you are. Like I forgot who the fuck I was. Even though at the time I didn't really feel like it because I was just blinded. Then October was a month. Beginning of the month, some shit went down with my situationship, and it fucking wrecked me because like an idiot, and I will never do this again, I put all of my eggs into this basket, and I was just like, I left the relationship. It was hard. Like I had to make the mistake, but it taught me so much because now I'm standing in my own power, and I failed by leaning so far into this relationship by putting all my eggs into this basket. But it has made me, even though it's only been 5 months since that happened, I feel like I have grown an insane amount and have learned so much. And like I can tell, I was just talking to my best friend about this, like I can tell the things that I'm doing and the interactions that I'm having, instead of knowing what I should do and like trying to get myself to do it, I'm doing it naturally and it feels good. And so these failures have taught me so much, and that's going to be a big theme of this channel, obviously. But this failure in this situationship and how I lost myself taught me so much, and how I want to like, my relationship with myself matters first and foremost over anything else all the time for the rest of time. So November comes and the divorce is finally finalized. And then we split the dogs up for good because while I was living with my friend, my ex was keeping the dogs at the house until our lease was up. And so I didn't have the dogs during that time, which was a whole other thing. Like living with them, I had Ned for 8 years and then not having them. Like I would visit them occasionally and like let them out, every so often. But like it's different when dogs are a part of your whole routine and then you don't have them. And during this time, I also moved into this apartment that I'm living in now, which I'm very grateful for. It's in downtown Denver. I love it. It's amazing. So as December came in, like, yes, very exciting to be finally living. Like it very much felt like it was the final thing. Like my divorce was final. We had split the dogs, like everything was done. And now I was settled into my new apartment. I moved in everything. Very much a bittersweet moment because I felt like a new chapter, which was on one hand very great, but on the other hand, it was like a shell shock. Like, holy shit. Oh, I didn't even have any words. And so it was great. And since then I have been learning and growing and doing a lot of stuff on my own. I'm the kind of person that does a lot of stuff on my own anyway, but I've just learned a lot about myself. And that last piece of the year was fun, but really hard because I just was figuring out life on my own. That was my 2023. Not the end of the world. I'm sure a lot of people had worse years than me, but it still matters. It's still my experience. And I just want to share that even though that year was a dumpster fire, I'm so fucking grateful for all the data that I received from that in my relationships, in my health, in so many different experiences. And it's made me such a better person, and I'm going to continue to grow, continue to learn. And that's what this channel is all about. So failure only has to be a thing if you let it be. If you take the power away from failure and redefine what it means to you, like what is your definition of failure, and say that it's just data, information to show you what to do and what not to do, it's not as scary. And I know it's much easier said than done, but hopefully this channel is gonna help show you what that looks like. And while I'll mainly be sharing the ways that I fuck up on this channel, I will be still sprinkling in some tough love, some inspiration, and tips around making failure your bitch or your best friend, however you wanna look at it. If you know someone that needs a reminder that failure is not so scary, please share this channel with them. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Videos are gonna be currently coming out twice a month, so keep an eye out. Share this video with them. And if you've been following me, listen to my podcasts on TikTok, Instagram, however you found me, it would mean the world to me for you to share this first video. Obviously, getting a YouTube channel off the ground is really fucking hard, and it doesn't matter that I already have a platform on Instagram. It's still hard, so if you can share this with a friend, share it on your Instagram story, tag me. I will love you forever and ever and ever. It means the most to me. Comment on this video as well. Like it. It really does mean a lot. I know everybody always says that on YouTube channels, but it means a lot. What I want to leave you with is a question, because I'm a coach, and so I'm always gonna hopefully be making you think, is I'm curious what kind of fuck ups would make you feel better to hear from, with me. Like, is it more in business? Is it in dating? Is it like, where is it for you that you'd like to hear more about it? What do you want to see? What do you want to see me fail at? Because I'm open for it all. I'm your guinea pig, and that's what I'm here for. I have a lot of plans for this channel, but like, the more you share with me, I want to see you do this, and I want to see you do this, and don't be weird about it, like creepers on the internet, but you know what I mean. I appreciate you so much. Hope you're gonna follow me on this Failure Diaries journey. So till the next fuck up.
These are failures. Failures. Failures.
Oh my gosh, I'm so